and it's moving so quickly.
Learn how to use it.
I'm a little scared. I'm a little worried. And I think the world's going to be taken over by robots.
That is training Google's image classification AI. But it's not enough, right?
Hey, welcome to the Real Estate Rumble. My name is John Smith. I'm here with my special guests, Dustin Spivey and Jackson. I don't even know your last damn name. You're in my phone as media guy. I'm a little scared. I'm a little worried. And I think the world's going to be taken over by robots. And people are going to make decisions, and people like me are going to become unnecessary. You know, like a husband. I was driving over here, and what I was thinking, guys, was I literally could be in a different country with some AV glasses on, right? Is that what they're called?
AR
glasses.
XR.
Okay. See, I'm
VR.
old. Okay. And my wife could be in a different country, but we could virtually be in the same room and live our lives separately and have family time.
Separately or online?
Online. But do you understand what I'm saying? The world has changed so fast and it's moving so quickly. I literally just asked AI the other day to write me a letter about business so that I can introduce my real estate company to people. And it wrote a letter that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I did have to go through and make some adjustments and stuff, but I'm a little scared. Should I be scared, Dustin? Is the robots coming?
I mean, robots are definitely coming.
Bastards.
You know, what they can or can't do, we don't know yet. I think really your concern's AI versus robots.
Oh, no, but hold on. Robot that has AI in it gets smarter because it learns from itself, does it not?
Well, they can. Yeah, they can have AI models that reinforce themselves and learn, but you can put guardrails on that too. You could also not put guardrails on that.
So for those of you that are curious what we're talking about artificial intelligence and what else? Anything tech today, really. And since I've always been told when you don't know something about a subject, bring in the smartest people you know to talk about that subject and ask them really tough questions and hope it turns out to radio gold.
And that's why Dustin's here.
So we're bringing Dustin and Jackson in to talk about this. One, you guys are the right age for this, right? I believe, because you've seen over your age period, you've probably seen technology just go through the roof, right? I remember when TVs were black and white and they were like boat anchors. Now they're so light and they're cheap. Technology's just going crazy. What is your thoughts, really, though, on all this? I don't even know where to start, but I guess you could start.
Yeah, I think it'll change a landscape. I don't think it'll change it any more than technology or the internet already can. It'll just change it maybe a little bit faster. I mean, we look at internet in the homes, and that wasn't even a thing until mid-90s, and we're still learning how to use it.
My wife, I remember her telling me when the internet came on, she's like, what do we need the internet for? That's not in our budget. And now we can't live without it.
Yeah, of course.
That's what I think like AI is going to transition to. I think so many people are terrified of it, like deathly afraid of it's going to take my job. But I don't think it's a shift like that. I think it's more of a shift that's going to say, all right, this is going to help me supplement my learnings and help me accomplish tasks quicker. I think it's like the end all goal for it. Obviously, like Dustin said, if you don't put guardrails on it, it may go a different direction. But that's my thoughts.
Well, there's always evil.
And I think it can take jobs. I don't think there's any reason it couldn't, any more than any other technological advancement or change in any market, right? We look at new technology and they're like, it's going to immediately replace our jobs tomorrow. But it doesn't. It takes time. Industries adjust and the people doing work adjust.
But there's some evil stuff out there.
Yeah.
And there's some evil people out there, right? We all agree to that, right?
Yeah.
There's some evil people out there. I won't even bring up Elon Musk. But anyway.
Who's terrified of AI?
He is.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because you think he would embrace it.
Terrified.
Yeah.
Well,
I think he'd rather control it.
That's the key, right? Control it.
Yeah.
And that's my fear. There is no control. And you already said some safety wheels, but let's just take somebody from another country.
Yep.
And they decide to use AI, as a tool of mass destruction somehow, some way. Are they not already doing that? Are they not already doing that with AI, with hacking and stuff like that? Do you think that's a computer actually doing that? Or do you think it's actually some guy or gal, sitting there just beating keystrokes trying to break in like we think we see?
I mean, I think even hackers prior to AI, it wasn't, people just hacking on keyboards. They write tools to aid in what they're doing, and that's just another tool that they can utilize. Now, the advancement of that tool is, like I said, pretty quick, so we don't know a lot about all of the applications.
The only thing I know about hacking is Swordfish. You ever watch that show? Anybody watch Swordfish?
No. Mr. Robot, I've seen that one.
Swordfish is about a 4-breast movie, just so you know. Right. Halle Berry's in it. John Travolta's in it. John Travolta's in it. And what happens is, and I don't know the other guy, the hacker, but basically he comes into a bar and they give him so many seconds to hack into the government's mainframe or something like that. They want him to do this under pressure because, you only have so many minutes, and right there in front of everybody at the table, that's what happens.
And that's a real thing. Like, they've been doing hackathons since the early
hosted
2000s.
hackathons.
You've hosted a hackathon.
Yeah, participated
Is
in them.
Fed's going to kick in the door?
They're a lot different than, you really see. There are some that are really try to penetrate this secure system.
Okay.
And those are usually held NSA sponsored or in company or by MIT or other, companies will do kind of more serious ones like that, but more or less they're maker-thons with tech.
Okay, so let me completely understand, because remember, I'm a little behind here. So the hackathon,
Yes.
all right, so that is a company that has all kinds of tech.
A hackathon is an event.
Okay, it's an event, but the company could say, hey, let's just call it Raytheon, for lack of better words.
Okay.
Hey, here's...
I hosted hackathons there.
Here we're going to hackathon. Raytheon's going to host a hackathon, and we're going to get 100 people in here, and you try to hack our system. Is that basically it?
Like I said, there are some industries that will hold hackathons like that in a traditional way, but now it's mostly centered around tech innovations. So,
Okay.
Bring in these microcontrollers and bring in 3D printers and bring in VR headsets and find a new way or a novel way to do data visualization or a new flight algorithm or something to that.
So they're trying to get to an end goal, and so
centric usually.
So let's just pretend there's a box here, and that's what we're trying to do today. First one gets into that box wins.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't think isn't really the thing that they do in hackathons anymore. It's usually there's a theme, different people form teams, they build projects.
Okay, so the only thing that I know a hack is somebody trying to break into something. And what you're telling me is no, John. There's more to it.
Hackathons are.
No,
I'm just saying that the name hackathon has kind of been lost. That they aren't usually hacking things at hackathons anymore.
Okay,
and I think it usually and correct me if I'm wrong, but it usually translates to jobs. So big companies will host it.
That's how I got my job at Raytheon back straight out of college. I came to the hackathon here at the U of A. I participated in it, met with many companies that were sponsors or
That's cool.
Judges or whatever, and then got my job there and was.
Well, wait, how'd you get a job? Somebody just recognized this guy's not bad.
Yeah, so I had a team, we had a project, and as part of that, sponsors can host different challenges or meet and greets and stuff like that. So I just went to talk to someone at Raytheon. At the time, I was at school in Montana, and my wife was like, "Let's go back home, find a job in Tucson." So I knew that Raytheon was a sponsor of that hackathon, so I flew down to participate in the hackathon to meet with them, and then landed a job.
Very cool.
Via talking to, a talent acquisition person, a department manager, something to that effect.
So, is it endless? Is there any limit to what AI can do for us? Did Willy Wonka have it right when he put Mike TV in the television and reached in and was able to pull him out?
I don't know, right?
That's
tech evolves. We're limited by physics on Earth. That's pretty much our limit. As far as small as we can make transistors, we've made them as small as we physically possibly can for computational power. There's quantum computing and whatnot that'll help process mathematical equations faster, but we just don't know.
I know this. I know this is a stupid analogy, but it'll work, right?
Sure.
We had jukeboxes, but they didn't take over for live bands.
Yeah, and
I like that.
again, you hear a lot like it's going to take over everything. Everyone's going to be out of work. What we're dealing with right now in AI, it's generative AI, so it creates contents, usually on like a language model or something to have conversations. There are more advanced models than that out now, but they're really just generating content. They're not doing anything actively. They're just generating stuff based off all the information it's been trained on. Right? That's just a form of AI or machine learning is generative AI, and that's really what everyone's seeing right now. That's kind of like the new AI, and I think that it's making a lot of things easier, but I don't think it's any different than, I call myself a Google engineer all the time, right? Now I'm just also an AI engineer. I use that to aid in filling gaps that I might have, but if I didn't know how to kind of prompt it or talk to it the right way, I wouldn't get what I needed out of it either.
So I'm thinking that AI's been around for a long, long time, and we've been using it a long time and not even notice it. Now that you gave a Google analogy,
yeah,
because literally you can go to Google and ask, give me a recipe for chicken soup with feet, and you'll get a recipe for chicken soup.
They have machine learning algorithms. Amazon has them. Netflix was one of the first like big ones where you really saw it when they started doing like show recommendations or whatever. That was all, machine learning that was backed on, any user's interactions with things. So most major tech companies that have like a user facing front end collect user data and analytics and use AI to help them understand that data, because machine learning is really good at identifying patterns that humans can't identify.
And to jump in, I think it's a lot like, so like if you're scrolling through Facebook or like on Instagram or For You page on TikTok, it's all machine learning. It's all AI driven. So like I own a media company and a food promotion startup, and we use AI on a daily basis to create images.
Yep.
Using Midjourney is a big one that everyone's familiar with. But it is difficult. You have to write the prompt in a certain way to get back what you want. So like, let's say I wanted an image of a dog with 6 legs, which we'll insert here. It's like, for me to prompt it and get the right thing I want, I got to be specific on it. So like if you wanted to use it maybe in like a real estate way or real estate kind of themed way, you would generate your prompt differently. So it's like I think it's right now, it's a useful tool, but like you said, I don't know if it's like, I don't think it's as scary as everyone's making it seem right now. Everyone's panicking and it's like, all right, well, it's going to take my job. Like, we're not going to need real estate agents anymore. We're not going to need people that do what I do in the media world. I think it's very like, it'll aid you in your job, but it's not going to take away from it, is what I would say.
So you don't think that I could sit home and be a real estate agent and have the computer do all the work for me and get real fat and drink beer?
I'm sure you could.
You could.
Give it 20.
Well, I hate to say this, but
tomorrow,
but
I think a progression over 20 years.
I hate to say it. I kind of think AI is already in the real estate business. Okay.
You think what?
AI is already in the real estate business. Okay. Let's look at Zillow. Okay. Yep. All right. Mm-hmm. Zillow. When I first familiar with Zillow, all they sent out was an email or a postal saying, "Do you want to know what your house is worth?" Yep. They weren't looking to sell. They weren't doing. Everybody went to Zillow because everybody wants to know what their house is worth.
Yeah, you use it every day.
Do you use it every day?
I do.
That's good. Good to know. Good to know. Dustin's looking. Okay, but even though there's some glitches there, people still lean on Zillow.
Yeah.
It's the grandfather, right? And they'll send us stuff. They'll say, "Hey, this is in your area. This buyer's looking in your area. Do you want to buy the lead?" Okay, yep. That's their marketing. Yep. That's good for them,
they have
right?
AI lead gen.
Yep.
Sure.
So it's there, and I think it's been there all the time. And I really think a lot of this might have started at the post office.
How so?
Elaborate.
Yep.
Well, the post office has to have something read zip codes. And if you recall, there's a machine that's called a separator at the post office that shoots letters in the direction of the mail carrier that goes. So that machine had to have so much intelligence to be able to read it, because probably before it was done by a human, right? Oh, zip code 49 goes over here. Oh, 51. But now you have a computer that's running zip codes through and separating. Is that a basic form of AI?
Sure. Machine learning algorithms for image classification would probably be an application the post office would use. I wouldn't say that they were probably the first ones using that type of tech. I'd venture to guess that DoD.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
using image classification algorithms far before.
I mean, I think that, and like we've even seen like my grandfather always talks about when he was in planes. This would have been 40 years ago, and talking about how you have a helmet on and you can look down and see fully underneath the plane. And that was 40 years ago. So like you would think now like that's very state of the art tech, but there's some machine learning involved in that and artificial intelligence there because you can't see through the floor. I don't know exactly how that works.
How about autopilot?
Back to the post office. How the simplest way to explain how that would work is they'd take thousands of pictures of handwritten zip codes for one zip code.
Right.
And then they would train a machine learning, a neural network on the image classification for that. And then when new ones come in, they have a certain, trust that handwriting is that zip code, and then can filter that way.
Amazing. It's all amazing, just in general. I mean, just even what we're doing here today.
Neural networks and machine learning they've been around a long time.
Has been around. Because we'll go back
just
to
consumer-based or consumer-facing AI, where people are just using like AI generative applications on a daily basis. Like that's just
everywhere.
It's everywhere. So everyone's like, okay, AI is the thing right now. No different than Meta was the thing 2 years ago, right? VR's been around for well over a decade, but a big company releases something that's consumer ready, and now it's the big thing.
Autopilot has got to be a machine learned, right? How else would they do it?
Yes, depends on your definition.
Flip
of
a switch,
autopilot.
the plane flies.
If you're talking like Tesla autopilot, it's sensor data and image recognition data and all of that being taken in and consumed and turned into a neural network for your car to take actions when the sensors see certain things they haven't seen before.
Okay, if you haven't been to Phoenix yet, there are driverless cars everywhere.
The Waymos.
Was that the true reason Google drives around and maps all the streets out? Is that the true reason? I mean, there's other benefits, right?
Yeah.
But is it to be able to provide AI
training data
for the vehicles?
Well, I don't think so. I think a big reason for that is marketability to their base. Google's an ad company, no different than Amazon or Facebook are advertising companies that do other things. Google's an advertising company.
100%.
So if they have a map system that beats out anyone else and everyone's using it and they have their locations on their phone on at all times, then they know where their people are going, what stores they're going by. I mean, 2 years ago, I was driving down the street and it said, take a right after the Wells Fargo instead of take a right on Silverbell. Right? So that's...
I know the Wells Fargo you're talking about.
That's all all part of that. Another area where Google specifically collects data to train their AIs is the CAPTCHAs. So that was one of the first kind of instances where we really, as consumers, saw the mass, kind of, they set training out to their people to do, right? So you go to Google, you see that, or go to most websites, you see that CAPTCHA that says, pick all the images with a dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is training Google's image classification AI. So in you doing that AI that can detect those images is getting better and better and better.
Pain in the ass.
Yeah,
Dustin.
it is.
Yeah.
But they've
read my retina.
effectively trained their image classification algorithm without having to hire people
It's genius.
to train it.
I think it's all that dual purpose stuff. Like we view it as all right, the CAPTCHA is for human identification. It's not showing that I'm not a robot.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more to that, like you said.
Is there a lot of robots trying to get into this stuff that
Well,
requires?
yeah, I mean, prior to the CAPTCHA, I could write a script to parse your websites and click buttons and do all kinds of things in, a matter of hours.
Just because I want to be up on the facts, even though I don't know what I'm really talking to. The first working AI program was written in 1951. And it was a checker playing program written by Christopher Starchy.
Okay.
And a chess player program by somebody's name I am not even going to try to butcher. but it was basically a game.
Yep.
And isn't it funny how
It makes sense.
I mean, look how far we've come with video games from Pong.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, I used to have a Pong. Don't tell anybody, but it was a fun game. So it's just so, and I think AI is actually everywhere that we think it's new, but I think it's wrapped around us so much already.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
I think it's been in front of our face for years. But like Dustin said, it's the forward facing stuff that's like much more consumer driven. So like being able for me to go on and like, or like you said yesterday, when you had it right, you could have it write a business letter for you.
Yeah.
I think the fact that that's readily available to people now is kind of what freaked everyone the hell out. Because they're like, this wasn't an option before, but it just wasn't as user friendly. So I think it's the ability of
even generative AI just wasn't that good either until OpenAI released their
Figured it
model
out.
for
All right.
ChatGPT.
What's the difference?
Generative AI?
Yes, sir.
That is AI that generates content. So when you're asking it to write a letter or produce an image or anything like that, really what we see, that's generative AI.
So that's
ChatGPT is an example of generative AI.
And it came out and people blew up the website. They had to turn people away.
They did.
So people are embracing it no matter what they say.
Yeah, I mean, I use it probably a couple hours a day, not ChatGPT specifically.
Yeah.
But I've got a whole stack of generative AI things that I use throughout a day.
Okay, I see a web browser. I don't know if anybody else sees the commercial. I think it has a duck on it that says they're no longer going to track you.
DuckDuckGo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty safe browser. Most of their data is locally stored versus Google, where it of course isn't. I think you've got some other browsers that do a decent job at it. DuckDuckGo is a search engine, not a browser, so they aren't storing user data. At least it's an option. I think they might be moving away from it in entirety. There are web browsers that are as safe as can be too. I think Opera is pretty decent. Firefox
I've heard good things about that.
Medium.
It was a totally Firefox came out. It was totally a new thing, and people were even afraid to go to that. People are afraid of change.
I think that's the bigger thing. I think people just get stuck in your ways, and it's easy. And obviously, I'm younger, and my I just got fired. It's easy for people to adapt to change. I think like the younger you are, because it's like the technology that we've seen. Like I'm 24. The technology we've seen over the span of my life, like literally seeing phones when we were growing up, and then kind of what it's turned into now, has been very quick. And then I have to remember for you guys, it's like, holy shit, what is this?
It was beepers, bro, that you turned upside down and spell it out. Hello.
I think to your point, technology has evolved so rapidly that you're used to rapidly evolving technology. So it makes it easier to pivot. Whereas, previously that's just not the case.
I'll say it. People my age. Okay. I get it. Trust me. I get it. Okay. We bought, Tracy and I bought a travel trailer last weekend.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Congrats.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then we used it right away. But here's what they said. Oh, by the way, you need a surge protector.
Yeah.
And I go, why the hell do I need a surge protector? I said, because this thing's basically a rolling computer. Everything that controls this thing has circuit boards. And then they forgot to tell me that people steal them.
Steal surge protectors.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're not cheap. But anyway, I couldn't believe that I had to buy a surge protector. I was just going to risk it. And then my wife, says, if you risk it and it blows this weekend, you're going to be pissed.
That's a good point.
So, but it worked. It worked fine. I plugged it in the surge protector. Didn't know any difference.
Yeah.
But just once again, there's another piece of evidence that these things are all out there, and there is probably stuff written just specifically for like a tankless water heater.
Yeah.
Okay. It's got a job to do. When it has something has to detect the water gets there, so it has to start eating. Right. It's not somebody putting a pot on the water. It's a machine doing doing it for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then don't get me going on cars, right? We talked about cars that drive themselves.
Yep.
Little scary.
Yeah, I've been in them. It's nerve-wracking, but still not as nerve-wracking as being in the car while my teen's learning to drive.
Yeah, well, look out for my son. Okay. So really everything that we touch has some form of AI in it, and probably has been since 1950s, and it's just grown into, do you think that this is totally, me, I go everywhere. Sooner or later, we're not going to need actors.
Yeah, there are definitely production companies that are exploring, generative actors. One of the hardest parts right now that is getting pretty dang close is voice synthesization and getting voices that aren't like too disturbing. And then there's still what they call in that world uncanny valley, which is where it's like the spot right where you can tell that something's not real and it makes you uncomfortable. So if you're seeing like a robot make face movements, that's a lot more comfortable than what you perceive to be a human making almost right face movements.
Right.
So that's like kind of the area where they'd have to really figure those two areas out to be able to do a lot of production. But yeah, I could see a future 10 years where whole films are produced with no,
and they'd be amazing.
Yeah, with no
voice
acting.
actors.
I mean, look how far they
Just
came
production
with
teams.
image generation, right?
Yeah.
Tigers and stuff like that. They could put a dragon next to somebody and they would be having conversation with them, even though the dragon's not there.
Yeah.
Green screen changed.
I mean, just
everything.
look at like virtual staging, right? You
Yes.
have people who do that now, maybe. But I mean, there are already AI virtual staging generators.
Yeah, $25 an image. I think that's a minimum.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a little more steep. I
And
don't know.
I
Sure, but until there are 10 more of them.
Right,
And
then it
that's
drops.
not
Right,
the
so
case
you go down.
anymore.
And
So,
it's the same thing of like you just got to know how to word the prompt.
yeah.
Like in reality, your virtual staging things, like if you guys ever paid for them, I'd assume that it's not that complicated to know how to use. But it's it's complicated to learn. But once you have it mastered, there should be no reason you're spending $25.
So what I'm really hearing is the nerds are taking over the world because you have to know how to put stuff in
Well, I mean,
to get the results. The smart people of the world, the really
So-
smart people.
I mean, you mentioned Zillow multiple times, right? I think Open Door was a huge
Success and failure.
Sure, it was, but it was it was just a technological disruptor, right? So they weren't a real estate company by any means. They were a tech company that did real estate. And you see a lot of kind of disruptors come up like that, and they either are successful and disrupt a whole industry permanently, or they fail.
So I will tell you this about
both are
Zillow.
possible.
When they first hit the market and people thought, when they started selling homes,
Yeah,
we thought there was panic in the streets.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
People were running, and I'm like, it is just what it is. Like, I didn't know any better, so it didn't
And that
bother
could
me.
happen, and it could, I know that it comes down to like legislation and stuff in certain areas too, but it could totally happen to where real estate becomes a tech industry, and the human factor is taken out of it a lot. You can make offers on houses sight unseen. Doing that becomes a lot more comfortable if you could pop in a VR headset and do a whole tour of that house, and have a virtual AI agent in there with you answering your questions because it knows the property.
Right. So I blew past the introduction. I mean, we did introduce, but I want to know, Dustin, what are you doing nowadays?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let's talk about you. I mean, I
yes.
can talk about me all day. These people know that because we're going to talk about my AI generated book here soon.
Yeah. So I took a new position at a company called LaunchVox.
All right. So why do all these companies, computer companies, they all have these crazy names? LaunchVox.
LaunchVox, yeah, V-O-X.
Vox, V-O-X,
Yes.
not Lunchbox. Is it a play on Lunchbox?
It's launch.
Launch. Rockets.
LaunchVox.
Got it. If Dustin
Yes.
has known me long enough. He slows things down
It's
for me.
LaunchVox.
Got it. Vox.
Yeah. Tech companies have weird names. I don't know.
It's fun.
I mean, he says it like every word in the English language isn't made up.
Well, it's like,
Literally
is
all of
it just because you want to show yourself as progressive? Lunchbox would be a good one.
Isn't that a
Is that
a store
something
in the
now?
mall?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it
It
is.
is, or it was.
Yeah.
So anyway, LaunchVox.
Yes, I'm their director of training and simulation.
Nice.
I build training simulations. So the main thing that I'm working on right now is a critical environment training for a pharmaceutical grade clean room. So trainees would get in VR, they'd get garbed up in their proper attire, and then they'd learn how to sanitize that environment effectively. Reason being, if they shut down production because a training or a cleaning mistake was made, that's millions gone. So having an immersive trainer where they can really get muscle memory down and familiarization with the space without having to shut down operation is very valuable.
That's super cool.
I've got your new product.
Yeah.
You know me, just like ting, and I do get a small portion of it if you go forward. That's a verbal contract right there. So one of the things that I did not like when my kids were in high school is they participated in shooter drills.
Oh yeah,
Shooter drills.
Yep.
I mean, to the point where
that's a thing. Active shooter VR training is a thing.
Is it? Okay.
I think
is it just not affordable? Because here's what they did.
Well, it just depends on who's doing it and where the money is, right? So I know a couple police departments across the U.S. have put money into active shooter training in VR or AR.
Yeah.
I think a couple years ago, I was asked to start a team to do that for NYPD.
Yeah.
But that wasn't something I wanted to do at the time.
I get it.
But yeah, there are companies that build active shooter and other first responder training. I know another company that I talk to pretty regularly. They're called Expert VR. They build fire training. So it's just
where I was going is my son was in the drama department area there, and they recruited those kids to be actors. And so they'd have to get dressed up, makeup like they actually got shot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah. So could you imagine? My son took it with a grain of salt, but not all of them did.
Yeah.
Right? Some of them walked out emotional. So that could be something you could actually put staff through.
Yeah.
That's something that would make society better, or is making society better, according to you.
Yeah, so we definitely have trainers for things like that. Another area that's pretty big is like VR therapy or PTSD therapy. So that's a pretty big area. Another area that we're seeing, and we're working on a project right now, it's a soft skills trainer.
Yep.
This particular application is for training an AI on training material, and then turning that into a conversational AI avatars, etc., for teaching sales reps how to have conversations with people.
Okay.
Interesting.
Right.
That's where I feel like it can be used for so many positive things.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think people look, but I think that's just our society. Everyone looks at the negative.
Half glass empty.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of really positive applications.
All right. I got another one. The reason I don't like VR is because I hate wearing those damn headsets.
That's fair.
Put them in contacts.
So there was a company, Mojo Vision, that was working on AR contacts some years ago. They pivoted away after many years of research.
A lot of money.
Well, a lot of money and really hard to get tech that small.
Yeah.
So I think the closest they got was 2D text and images rendering on the contact lens.
Wow.
But no depth
No
perception.
depth. It'll happen.
Sure.
Eventually.
Maybe. If
That's small.
right, that's physics allows.
yeah.
So you're talking about the limitations, right? That's
Okay.
That's where a limitation could come into play. Like, we're more likely to see.
Bro, I'm sorry. We built a phone that could launch a spaceship to the moon.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this thing has more power than the first rocket.
So we're more likely to see like bionic eyes that could do something like that, and you replace your eyes with robot eyes, or some neurological chip like Neuralink or something to that effect that is altering your vision through your brain.
Or it could be used to send sensors to your brain, get rid of. Listen, I'm imagining. I'm a sci-fi guy. Get rid of epilepsy. Get rid of stuff like that.
That's what Neuralink is.
Neuralink.
So
okay.
That's Elon Musk. Product.
Yeah. So.
Oh,
damn!
Have you not heard of Neuralink?
No, apparently not.
Oh, you're gonna love this one just because you're already freaking out. But yeah, the whole point of Neuralink is to put a chip in your brain and fire off neurons to fix things like that, detect receptors going off and injecting other things. But yeah, we've already.
But society's going to revolt against that because they don't want nothing injected in them.
I mean, we already have a chip implanted in.
I think there's two, right?
Well,
I think Neuralink has done two successful, and they had I believe the first guy was
playing video games.
Yeah,
with his brain.
he was playing video games with his brain because he's paralyzed. So
okay.
You see him moving. So it's for applications where it's helpful. It's not like it wouldn't be straight off the bat of someone that
Not right off the bat.
But
not right off the bat's the key word there.
But,
totally dangerous.
But Tucson
technology.
was the first person to ever install at the medical center a artificial heart.
Oh, interesting.
Cool.
And that was a huge deal at the time, right?
Probably freaked some people out.
Oh, it freaked a lot of people out. And is it the Jarvis?
I don't know.
I think it's the Jarvis. But anyway, but now heart transplants and stuff like that is just norm. So that's what's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
Society's just going to slowly
normal.
bleed into normal. Someone will go, Dave, Dustin's going to go, hey, John, how's your eyes? Oh, bro, I had them both replaced.
Yeah.
That's going to be normal.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, I can see better than the $60 million man.
And my thing, my thought process,
Thank you.
my thought process with it all is like, if you have, let's say you lose vision in an eye. You're 55. Let's say you're 60 years old. You lost vision way too early. You're in the middle stage of your life. If there's a technology there where I can go and get my eye replaced and actually be able to see again.
We're doing hips.
I mean, I got
Yeah,
LASIK
why would we
just
not
a
do
few months ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Good for you.
What's different?
That's the
Cornea
thing.
replacements. We're doing transplants, cornea
Yeah,
replacements.
and it's all technology. It's just
Okay, so
people are freaked out.
Are they going to make us run faster, stronger, quicker, all that
Possibly.
whole thing? You know?
That's a whole different thing. I think.
Now, I mean, that conversation between, becoming more robotic or bionic, if you will, versus uploading consciousness to other realities, right? Both could be potential futures.
Okay, that said, is it going too far if, like, you know what? My wife really doesn't like my personality. I'm going to get a chip to be the person she wants me to be.
If you do that and you like it and she likes it, what's the problem?
Government's going to track me, man.
Well, that's not the problem you were worried about, right? You were worried about going too far. But if the people
You're going
who
too far
want
if
it
the government
do it
could track
and they
me.
agree it. Yeah, but that wasn't the statement, right? That's a different statement.
You're saying like from a humanity point of view.
I'm saying that I'm a wise ass and I'm giving Dustin as much hard time as I possibly can here, okay? But when is enough?
I don't think anyone has an answer to that.
No, of course not. And technology will always evolve faster than our adaptability
What did
to
I just
it.
get an evil look? Go ahead.
And no, I'm just trying to think of how to formulate the correct response, right? What's enough for you is going to be different from literally anyone else.
Okay,
So how do you draw those lines? And the answer has proven to be that you can't.
Okay.
Because you think there's a line, somebody, maybe a foreign country, to your previous point, doesn't think there is a line. They're going to do that.
And then
technology is going to advance faster than the legislation can keep up with it and faster than our feelings can keep up with it. We'll get hit with what comes out of this world and we'll adjust the best we can.
All right.
To everything.
We got technology to bring people back to life and have their body be sustainable with artificial stuff.
Yep.
Could be a reality.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
So I guess what you're trying to tell me is if you can think it, it could happen.
Within the bounds of physics.
The reason I wanted to come in here without any knowledge is because this is some of the same questions that just people on the street are walking around.
Yeah,
you guys get taught a lot of stuff in first grade, okay, including on how to do a PowerPoint. And guess what? Senior in high school, and I still didn't know how to do a damn PowerPoint.
Yeah,
okay?
I mean, I got all the way through high school without really a computers class, actually, myself.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I thought you mentioned a lot that, like, younger people just have the technology their entire, lives. So,
they woke up next to it.
As users, they're going to know a lot more about it. But I can tell you that the amount of people who still don't know crap about how a phone works, in younger generations is astonishing. And it's because, there was a sweet spot where you still had to learn you had to learn about the technology to use the technology. And that has more or less gone away, right? We've made most devices so easy to use that you couldn't troubleshoot it on your own unless you had an interest to investigate how to troubleshoot it. And you wouldn't need to.
Right.
But you could go somewhere, bring it to a shop, ask somebody who does know. The need to know how all of it works has declined significantly.
Little bounce off a different subject, though, but kind of just made me think. AI may be taking some jobs away, but it's also creating jobs
absolutely.
because we're going to need
like self-checkout.
We're going to don't get me going on that.
I mean, I can get you going because it's the same exact conversation, right? This new technology came out, everyone's freaking out, but there's manufacturing facilities that have to produce that. There are maintenance people who have to maintain it. There are software engineers who have to develop that software. And yeah, sure, it's taking away a cashier that I didn't want to talk to anyways job.
I love to talk to people. Cashiers are my favorite.
I like to talk to a lot of people, but sometimes I just want to go to the store. And
I actually think in that instance, you actually create more jobs.
And you're creating more jobs in with.
How many jobs do you think sustain one self-checkout machine?
The machine.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sure.
No, because
There's a lot of variables.
think about anytime a self-checkout machine breaks.
Okay, you got a repairman.
I think it's more than one. You have someone making the parts. You have someone making the chips for it. You have a different provider making the screen. It's like your phone. Like everyone views your phone as like, all right, it's made by Apple, or your phone's made by Samsung, but that phone's made by however many different companies making individual pieces of it. So it's like something as simple as like he said, self-checkout. It's probably being that self-checkout machine you see at Target's probably being made by few hundred different providers would be my guess, maybe for individual pieces.
I think jobs, no matter what, when technology advances, even with the wheel, jobs are lost. But if you look at the employment rates, they're not like the self-checkout didn't kill careers in America. Like, people still have jobs.
But I don't want to check myself out. Sure. I don't work there.
Sure. And if you and everyone that believes that stopped going, they would have to have a solution for you guys, or they would not be able to sell product. But you guys don't. You still go.
I don't go.
You don't?
I refuse. I go stand on the line where there is it. I don't care how long the damn thing is. I'm going to make my point. Nobody cares. My wife gets fine. Mad.
But it's not enough, right?
Right.
Because the consumers have more or less shifted, and that's going to continue to happen. So, like, there's no amount of you going through that line that's going to preserve that line into infinity, unless the majority of consumers who are buying products are doing that. And I can assure you that those grocery stores are going to get to a point where they're like, all right, screw it, Instacart all the way. We're not even opening up shop. Everyone's delivering straight to their house. They wouldn't get on board with our self-checkouts. We'll just ship directly to them because that's cheaper.
Well, because that's
our
where
fleet
majority
of
of
autonomous vehicles,
and that's where majority of their employees are going off the cash register to get orders ready. So it's basically going to come out of a warehouse.
Soon it won't be them.
And they were shopping at Amazon
soon
for
it'll
everything.
Be a warehouse, and it'll be a bot that goes to the spot, picks the thing. It'll have image recognition to know whether a carrot's bad or not, and it'll toss them in the bin if they're not.
Okay, but see, guys, then we're taking away the foundation of our society.
The foundation of grocery stores? How long have grocery stores been around?
Employment.
Yeah.
We're because hold on a minute. Who's usually in those positions? People that are just joining the workforce. Okay, people that need to learn how to work, learn how to perform. I was at McDonald's the other day. I walked in, there was nobody. I could see nobody. I had to touch a screen to order my friggin' Big Mac, okay, which I hate anyway because it's overpriced. Okay, so now my Big Mac's overpriced. I'm taking my own order, and then the food comes out. This one person walks out and goes, "Here you go."
Yeah.
Okay. I worked at McDonald's.
Sure.
And I learned how to work.
You did when you were learning what you were learning in school.
Beep.
Because that's what was relevant. But schools and education also adjusts so that people are ready
I'm
for
talking to my kid.
No, it's just reality, right? So you just claimed earlier that one of your kids was learning PowerPoint in like first grade, or people are already learning.
No, I didn't claim. That's what happened.
Sure, right. Because the landscape of what they need to know by the time they're work ready.
He came to Rumble today. Did he come? I mean, he came to battle. Now, I will also tell you,
it wasn't fast food.
I also made $3.65 an hour, and
my first job was $5.15.
Entry level right now is $15.
Yeah, sure. That's a whole different.
And how much does a house
conversation?
Not enough.
Yeah.
Well, that's a mess because of just the suppliers, and I mean, we could go into that for hours.
Same with how much we need to pay people to be able to afford those things.
I agree. Yeah. Trust me.
Yeah. It's just the landscape changes. It changes with technology. It changes with people's fear.
Is it a revolving? It's constantly changing. It's never. I mean, no matter how you look at it, society's changing forward.
It's an exponential curve. It's not like we have linear, gradual growth. at all.
We go backwards sometimes.
Sure.
We go backwards sometimes just because we see value in the previous product, right?
So, I would agree with that, and that's always been kind of my thought. Is like I think, obviously, yes, we're going to keep progressing. AI is going to keep learning to grow. Technology is going to keep improving. We're going to have VR glasses. Our cars are going to be super smart. But
I get where you're going.
I think people eventually are going to say, I'm done with it, but I need some time away. Yeah. So I think people are going to hit the wall where it's like AI is doing everything. Like, what if I sat down and wrote a book?
Yeah.
You know, I think stuff like that's going to come back around because I already notice it with like people my age. I think a lot of the time
they're like, give me an old flip phone that I can just call someone on.
That's why companies like Boring Phone or the Nothing Phone, Boring Phone, it exists. It's a basic phone that I believe is black and white.
Yep.
And the whole point of it is it's a smartphone per se. It's touch screen. Yeah. But the whole point of it is it's for people that want to. Exactly. Sure. Yep. And I think stuff like that's going to happen. But then obviously a lot of it depends on government regulation as well. Yeah. So I don't.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with convenience, right? Like, it just.
Yeah.
I think we often choose what is convenient.
So you're saying society's getting lazy, which is opening the door.
I don't think it's getting.
It's gotten.
No, I think it has been. I think we always want to find ways to make what we do easier, right? I don't think that comes from necessarily a place of laziness, though I'll say that I got into computers because I wanted computers to do things for me that I didn't want to do. But I wouldn't say I'm a particularly lazy person either, right? I think we just want the things that we think suck to not suck anymore, right? And I think that's often branded as laziness, like, oh, they just want this thing to do it for you. Well, yeah, if I could make a machine make the money that I'm working hard to make, I would do that, and then I'd probably work hard to make another machine to make me more money, right? Like,
and then sell it 1,000 times.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know. Are there people who don't want to work? Sure,
but that's going to be no matter what.
Yeah. I don't know. I think as far as kind of having a tech revolt and any of the societal things, right? Like, a tech revolt's not going to stop tech innovation. I think people continue to solve the same problems over and over and over again, but with new toys, right? Like, there are no problems we're really discussing as like humans with problems we have with each other or the government or society that haven't been solved in other societies, and then they collapse and then they restart and whatever over the time of all of humanity, right? Like, these same problems we're fighting about aren't problems that we haven't solved and then not solved many times over.
What really scares me is drones.
Okay. I programmed some of them.
Okay. You're like, I know that's a little off there, but it's not the drone that I pretend to fly and crash into trees. It's the mass amount of drones that, like,
are we talking military drones? Are we talking delivery?
I think
drones,
it all could be applied. I think. Just work with me here, okay? The amount of drones that they were able to get to do a fireworks display.
Yeah.
An amazing
there are a couple
array,
companies that do that.
Right? I mean, huge amount of drones.
Yep.
Unless they got turned into military weapons, but I'm a little too late for that because guess what?
I think it's already been there.
They're already. I mean,
we don't have consumer drones because the military didn't have drones before,
right?
Like, military has drones.
How long have they had them?
If I knew, I probably couldn't tell you.
Good answer.
I would argue early 2000s, maybe even 90s.
Yeah.
Like,
but it was all done as a different way. It wasn't the drone we may think nowadays because technology catches up. What may be a drone, which we had seen in the last 10 to 15 years, that was the size of an airplane, we now see drones that are shrinking down and actually are kind of like suicide bombers, right? And I know we're getting
stealth drones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was growing up, the stealth fighter, right, was just a mystery. It didn't really exist, but it existed. None of it. And then one day, there it was.
Yeah.
It was they let us see it, and now you see it all the time, right? All the time, because the technology, what you think got shared, or did somebody stole it and it just became available to everybody?
I think there are people who work in industries that move to other industries, and they try to start up their own things. They're like, I want to do this, but commercial or something to that effect.
Right.
Was it so the creator or one of the creators of the Oculus VR headset, now the Meta headset.
Same thing?
Yes.
Okay, because I got an Oculus.
So the Oculus is now Meta. Facebook bought Oculus some years ago. The optics in it, I believe Raytheon, maybe Hughes created the optic like lenses and whatnot in it. I could be wrong, so it's just what I heard. But I do know that one of the creators of the Oculus, like he runs a DoD company, Anduril.
All right, what's a DoD
Anduril.
company?
Department of Defense.
Oh, okay. Just I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like I don't want to say it's a logical shift for someone like him to make, but it's like if you make something if you're making something that is that easy and user friendly for like the public to use, imagine what you can do with DoD funds and money like that.
If I had to guess without really knowing what he's producing, it's probably some unmanned stuff.
And
maybe some he's dropped. I feel like he released that he's going to have a new headset come out. So
interesting.
If he has a new headset coming out and he's DoD, that's going to be, it's a soldier headset. That's, an enhanced battle.
Yeah.
you could control a drone just with your headset. I mean, there's all kinds of things to do.
You can control a drone with a Neuralink chip in your brain here soon, too.
There you go.
So I saw the only connection I have with drones would be the large one with the big round head. Only because I saw it on a movie, and the guys were sitting in a box somewhere in another country, and they were sending drones over for strikes, right? But really, somebody could just program a computer to a destination, and a drone could attack. Is that correct? It could drop a bomb. I mean,
in
theory?
theory?
In theory. Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah.
I think that's
Because then you don't have anybody pulling the trigger.
I mean, we already have unmanned crafts.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying, Dustin, is there's still a man in a different location that's required to operate those drones and fly them.
I believe for the most part that is the case, even in DoD applications, with my for real limited knowledge on DoD policy regarding drones. There is a large amount of like mistrust in unmanned systems and AI. So the regulations in that space are really high. Are they that high in China? Probably not.
Probably not. So Russia, we obviously have a war going on that we're all following at some point, right? And I've noticed that the drone attacks have increased on both sides, because how can anybody penetrate into, my Russia head, which is like the big bad wolf, right? Okay, these are the 80s. It was a Cold War. But anyway, that they're actually able to penetrate into Russia and actually cause damage into Russia. Okay, but in vice versa, Russia sent 1,200 over the other night to attack on the other side.
Yeah.
So that's the scary part of it, right? But
super scary. There's no deniability in technology being scary. The U.S. has been fighting a battle since its inception to make sure that it has the better technology in all areas, and it's very costly. I mean, if you've looked at the defense budget at all, it is very costly. But it is because technology advances, and we don't want it to advance faster than we can advance, right? And different countries have advances in other areas that maybe we're not thinking about, or we have advances in areas they're not thinking about. That's kind of the game.
So you mentioned
always not new, not since electricity.
You mentioned launch Vox. I got that right this time.
Yes.
What is? I'm sure they do more than just do training.
Yeah.
Training's
just my division.
Yep.
We primarily, I won't say primarily, but I'd say we're an advanced media company that builds bespoke animations, interactives, AR, VR, some not. We do some like surgical sims with like haptic tools and scalpels and stuff like that. Where my division's really trying to lean
I love the language of your generation, right? Because it takes me a while to go, simulators. Okay?
Yeah,
There's all these little things, right?
Sims.
And the only reason I know what Sims are, and it just dawned on me, is the game.
The Sims.
The Sims. Yeah. But then it just dawned on me that it was simulator.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm catching up slowly.
Your life.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So,
So they've got a variety of things. So are they across the country? Are they across the
yeah,
world?
we're distributed. We're a small team. Companies 10 to 15 employees. So
Based out of?
small. Based out of California.
Okay.
But there's no central office. We're all distributed.
So I've known you a few years.
Uh-huh.
This is probably the most excited I've seen.
I love this job.
You know what I'm saying?
Good.
No, it's great.
This is the most
it's good.
passionate that you've been, and look at you go. I don't want anybody to think that I am so against AI. I think it has its place. It's just scary for a 56-year-old man.
We're dipping our toes in AI. Like I said, soft skill training, sales training, sales conversations, things like that could be repurposed for multiple industries. But we primarily do VR and AR.
Are you going to kill the arts?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're going to kill the arts, right?
Half our team is artists.
Okay, well,
That's the part that I think people like.
Half our team is artists. Some
You're
of
killing
them
the
use
arts,
some
man.
of those tools.
Okay, photography.
Sure.
Okay, which small passion of mine, obviously, for those of you that know me. But I can't even post my stuff on a social media page without sometimes somebody going AI bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nope, here I am standing right next to the sunset.
Well, how many of those people commenting are actually AI bots?
Probably. Okay,
there's a good amount of bots out there just to cast aspersions on whatever relevant topic right now, and they're everywhere. So,
and where are they coming from? Is that stuff that people are just? Is that another form of hacker?
Huh?
Is that another form of hacking?
Sure. Yeah, that's like social hacking, right?
Yeah.
Social behavioral hacking. That's totally a thing. Where there are companies who, for sure, or even governments that would do whatever they could to alter the viewpoint of a populace, for sure. It's no different than what any marketing agency's been doing for ages, right? Convincing you to buy their product. It's just in a different way. They're trying to convince you to buy their ideas by pretending they're
A real
somebody
person.
they're not.
Got it. So without getting too political, bear with me here. Sure. Okay. Don't care who you voted for. Okay. We have a president and we stand behind the president no matter what. But there are talks of the election being fixed by outside influences.
Sure. I think, years ago there was evidence of like server farms in Russia trying to manipulate the people. For sure, but I don't think that's on any one side at all.
I think it's
anyone who has an
anywhere.
idea they want to sell, any company, any large financial interest that's trying to sway a population towards something.
And it's all about money.
Just public manipulation.
Is it all about
I
money?
feel like it's all. I mean, we know it's all money.
Yeah.
We know the government's all money in the
power.
first place, but
Now, and I know that sounds silly. It's it's bordering conspiracy, but there are bots out there that, of course, try to manipulate how you feel about something.
Well, it's
get
like-
you riled up about
yeah,
something.
look at like deep fakes and like stuff like that.
They
For
exist
like,
for a
and it's
reason.
it exists, and people. I mean, that's the part that like, and I'll take a step back. So like, deep fakes obviously like impact elections, no matter what it is, impact our world and people's opinions, because it's like you don't know if what you're watching is real.
Are you familiar with deepfakes?
No, but I'm listening.
So it would be like essentially it'd be like if you took a video of Donald Trump or Joe Biden, whoever it was,
whoever you choose.
yeah, whoever you want,
Keanu
and
Reeves. There are some really good
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves deepfakes.
yeah. So it's essentially just a recreation, and Dustin, jump in here. It's a recreation of that person saying things that they never actually said. It's completely artificial.
Okay, I know that. I've seen those.
Yeah, so you've seen it, and people I think years ago, like mid 2000s, used it just kind of as like a joke, and people would make music videos with like I remember seeing like Obama sing a bunch of songs on YouTube, and it's like these are all fake, obviously.
It's like jib jab.
But being able to tell them
that's essentially
apart is getting harder and harder.
and that's the part where like it's going to be up to legislation, and I think it's going to be platform to
technology.
platform. Yeah, it's going to vary. So like X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it now, has like their version of their checks for it. And you can think whatever you think about it, but they have community notes, which is essentially supposed to be like, all right, I
Or
can
like
tell
Facebook's
you.
like,
I can't think of what it's called.
This thing has false information.
Exactly.
Or something to
Exactly.
that effect. Fact checkers.
Yes.
Is, I think really what it was called. Some fact checking algorithms.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that is actually someone behind a keyboard saying, no, I don't agree with your opinion.
No,
But
it's
really
not.
just like they have an algorithm that also could be flawed, and we've seen that they are flawed,
Yeah.
reading all the content that comes by and saying, we believe this to be false because X, Y, and Z.
And yeah, so that's like there's
And we need versions of that.
I think so.
to
I think
protect
so.
ourselves.
It's a check
I
and
think
balance,
so.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we what we don't need is versions of that infringe on the First Amendment right? And that's where a lot of people are like, well, I'm saying what I want to say, and that's okay. But I think it is important to have technology that can discern the difference between real and not, because it is getting way harder as a human to do that. Even with images, images that are generated now, it's so hard. There are plenty of really bad ones, of course, where there's extra fingers, the guy has 3 noses, whatever.
It's always hands. It feels like it's limbs that it struggles with.
And you ask most actual artists that hands is something they really struggle drawing, right? I think it's getting harder and harder for humans to discern whether a picture is real or not. You're saying you're posting real pictures and people are like, nah, that's AI. But it's not so hard for software to determine whether it is or not yet.
Well, there's some little bit of AI in your phone. Even when you take a photo, it automatically corrects it to make the best image out of itself.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, there were previously, with just like filters and things like that. This is far from AI. It's really an algorithm that goes pixel by pixel and does a set thing. Now you are seeing a lot of like, well, add this into my image that wasn't there, and AI is generating things that didn't exist, which is definitely different.
I have a question though. When we're talking about fact checking things,
Yes.
something that I've been a big proponent of is Web3. So everyone has their own opinions on Web3. So Web3, when I'm saying Web3, I'm kind of referring to blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, non-fungible tokens, that kind of world. That kind of popped off a lot in COVID because I think people were bored out of their minds and everything to do.
Still hit some companies trying to hire for that stuff.
So I think my personal thoughts on it is Web3 is like the internet was in the early 2000s. When everyone got into it and we started some stuff in Web3, we had a little bit of, my business partner and I, Matthew, the person behind the camera right now, he and I dabbled a little bit in non-fungible tokens and kind of
NFTs.
NFTs.
So I called you about those.
Yeah. So like my thought process with it, and I'm more so referring to blockchain here, is like the metadata aspect of it.
Yep.
So metadata, and you can probably explain this 10 times better than I can tell you can add different, it's essentially like lines of code that you could program into a picture, or it's basically where I'm trying to go with it is.
You're talking the picture in terms of NFTs?
No, I'm just saying in general. So like, let's say people are struggling now with photos online, whether or not they're real.
Yes.
Shouldn't the metadata behind that picture be able to tell us if it's a real photo or not?
It could tell you the source of that photo.
Okay.
Or its entire history, transaction history,
So-
if you will. So
Yeah.
I mean, Bitcoin is based off the same sort of thing,
Well,
right?
hold on. You brought up Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of you have done rather well this week. Okay.
And Doge.
I don't own any crypto.
Gronk even knows it's not real money. Okay.
I mean, it's real money if it buys things.
Oh, there you go.
Which it can. So there's a great story.
And I'm pretty sure the Treasury recognizes it as a currency.
And I know of one person who brags about they've done the only transaction in Arizona with Cryptcoin, as far as buying a house with it.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, but the contract states that has to be in U.S. dollars, so I think it had to be converted.
Yeah, so it's on the exchange.
It's a currency.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah,
It's on the exchange. Most of them are now.
And there's that. Yeah.
Someone wanted to buy my laptop in college for 50 Bitcoin, 1 for 1. And I was like, nah, man, I'm good.
You regretting that now?
Oh, I regret it every day.
Okay, just checking.
So
50 Bitcoin now
is substantial.
You're sitting pretty, and we'll pop in the if you're watching the video version of this, we'll pop in what Bitcoin's currently sitting at because it's blossomed over the
I
last.
don't even want to talk about it. My son wanted to.
It's in the thousands per.
Yeah.
My son wanted to get into it, and I said no. He goes, "Come on, everyone's getting rich," and I go, "No."
So
woke up and all my friends are rich this morning.
There's that great story about the guy that like when Bitcoin first came out and he used to pay He paid for pizza
pizza?
with it.
Yeah.
He bought a pizza with it. He's like the Bitcoin pizza guy.
Yeah.
And the amount of Bitcoin he spent on that, he would have been,
So rich.
he would have had a ton of money.
Yeah.
But like,
you never know.
but my
with
thing is
anything,
like with all that world and like Web3,
All right, what's Web3?
that's like the blockchain technology,
I know what that is.
Non-fungible tokens. I'm sure there's a ton of other things that you could fall into that Web3 category. I think almost that could kind of safeguard some of this AI stuff. But maybe that's just me and my naive knowledge of it. But I'd like to think that like blockchain technology and some of it could maybe help. And I think people still just have this, people have the vision in their mind that like when you're buying an NFT during COVID, everyone's like, all right, cool. I paid $300 for a Bored Ape NFT, and now it's worth X amount of money.
Right.
Thousands of bucks. People are like, all right, you're paying for an image.
But where that is useful, I mean, maybe not to us as consumers, but and I guess a little way less relevant now that streaming is prevalent, but you know, when DVDs or CDs or any of those sorts of products were being majorly produced, you know, that's a lot more of a proof of purchase than a barcode on the back of something, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a
Tangible?
solid, yes.
Yeah. But do you think that, like, my thought process on all is like that proof of, all right, this photo came from X place. I can tell it's fake because it came from here. Now, obviously, there's some gray area, and I'm sure you can work your way around it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, I think the marker to your point, if that were something, is if something doesn't come with that, you'd immediately be concerned.
Yeah.
And then from there, if it does, you discern, you know, what sources are valid and what aren't.
I don't know. It's something interesting that I think people should kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah. I don't know enough about blockchain myself. Investigated it a couple times. It's really just encrypted information that doesn't lose its history.
Yeah.
During transactions.
Yeah.
I can't go into
people
more
have talked
detail
about like
because I'm not
deeds
knowledgeable.
deeds of homes being on like the blockchain, because then it's like it's verifiable. You can verify this purchase was made for
There
this
will
amount of
only ever
money.
be one deed. You couldn't forge it.
You can't forge it.
Oh, it needs to happen. And here's why it needs to happen. Okay. You have people constantly selling people's pieces of land without their knowledge.
Exactly.
I hear about it in Hawaii
Exactly.
a lot.
Happens
Actually,
constantly.
like I've heard 3 stories about that.
I had a
happening
call
in
from a guy who
Hawaii
wanted
in
to
the
sell
past
on.
few
He goes,
years.
I know it's worth 50. I'll take 20 today if you can get me a cash buyer. And he did not stop calling me. And I was on to him. Right.
Yeah.
And so, it's something we have to be careful. And it happens all the time. I mean, daily, where people put somebody else's property, and sometimes the transactions go through, and then all of a sudden somebody starts building on the land. The guy is right next door that owns it, and goes, "Why are you building on my land?"
He's like, I bought it.
We bought it. No, you didn't. Yeah. So yeah, there is some place for that, and I do think it's going to cure some problems like that. I mean,
What you really struggle with, though, in that arena is it is one data item that cannot be recreated, and if it is lost, it is gone. Right. So you may have heard people in the past talk about like they lost their Bitcoin drive or something and you know,
so it's not recreatable.
No, they'll play it up in the media on like different TV shows and stuff where like a billionaire will pay somebody to dig through a landfill because his Bitcoin wallet's in there and it's worth mega millions. Right. But really the point there is that it is singular. And if you lose it, then you lose your record of it.
Okay, I have to ask, who would dig through the landfill?
If I knew there was
How much money?
a drive in it. But the problem with it is even if you find the drive, you need the code to get into it.
Well, no, I'll take the
You know,
reward.
this was that guy's drive.
That's when
Yeah.
that's when you need negotiations.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you need the encryption keys.
I mean, that's like the kid that caught the ball, the home run ball, right? And then you have the choice: be the nice guy, give it back to the player, or get bank.
Yeah.
And
or that other kid who had a secret ball in his glove,
Did
caught a
the-
ball.
I
and
love
then
that video.
Gave the other ball
Yes.
to the girls behind him.
so that was
is a good
sly.
one.
That was sly.
That is a good one.
Where do we go from here? Endless stars, could be anything.
Could be anything.
You know,
I mean, with anything, adapt or be comfortable not fitting in with that thing, and that's okay too. There, like was mentioned before, you know, there's tech revolt. There are people who just don't want to be involved in certain things. Even myself, you know, I work on a computer all day, and you know, I get asked all the time what games I'm playing or what I'm doing, and the last thing I want to do after working all day is be on a computer.
Right.
There's just no part of me that wants to do that. So, there's.
I mean, I got 20 years, good 20 years left.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. 20 years. Do
You
I
got
want
more
to?
than that?
76?
You got more. People live to like 90.
Who
now.
wants to live till they're 90?
If you're able-bodied,
I
and
think
can do
76
everything,
is
why not?
the end of quality of life. The rest of it, you start drooling,
No,
shitting yourself.
because by the time I'm 76, they'll be able to manufacture
That's you.
my quality of life.
That's you.
Do you use Matterport or like any other technological advancements in your field to stay relevant?
Probably computer is the number one thing.
Okay.
I pay somebody to do Matterport when and if
Sure.
I do. Okay.
But
I use it.
You leverage
actually,
it through some form.
In the beginning I did.
And Matterport's an example.
Yeah, let's just use Matterport. In the beginning, I thought it was important because everybody else was doing it. And then I found out that I could sell a house without using Matterport. Right? Because I am the type of guy that wants to go show you the house and make you put feet on the ground. Yeah. And I don't want technology to get in my way of opinions, because when you get out in the housing market, you're going to find out two things. One, there's some really shitty photographers out there. Two, there's some really good photographers that make shitty houses look good. Okay, you can beep all that. Okay, but that's the truth. Yeah. And if you just sit on behind a computer and all you do is look at pictures, you're not going to find a house, and you're never going to find a deal. But if you find one that's in bad condition and the pictures are terrible and horrendous, chances are everybody else thinks it's terrible too, and they're not going to go see that house. Is that not an opportunity for you to get on your feet on the ground, go look at the house, and all of a sudden, that house looks pretty darn good. The pictures were just bad.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
So that's what I have evolved in, is someone knowing that I need to go there. Now, does it have its purpose? I do think it has its purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. I do think there's a way, like my dad, he's homebound, right? And if he wants to buy a new house, that is a way for him to go shopping.
Yeah.
Okay. And see the reality of it. And then we also use, believe it or not, I use Facebook.
I was going to say, what about DocuSign?
Yeah. Every day.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Every day. And
would you not adopt DocuSign because you want to feel authentic and write?
No,
those
that's a
documents
totally
out by
different
hand?
subject. All right, because the signing's not on my behalf. Okay, I am not the one that's requiring the legal documents. It's the lender and it's the title company.
Sure. So there's some liability.
There's some there's some liability there, but we also put that liability where it belongs.
Right.
Those that are insured for it and those that know what to do with it. But Dustin, you hit it right on the head. They are now doing video signings for cash sellers and cash buyers, because there's no requirements by a lender that requires a wet signature, because that's really what it comes down to. Yeah. They want to make sure that's you, and that's why you're signing in blue ink instead of black, because they want to make sure it was actually signed by somebody.
Yeah.
Because there are machines out there.
To a previous point, now we have NFTs that could verify that is a signature, and it's the only signature, and
right.
And I mean, even just the encryption and digital signatures that exist on like Adobe and some other, form filling.
Can I just use my fingerprint?
Probably eventually, I would think.
I don't know. How often?
Totally susceptible to biohacking.
Yeah.
Okay. What about your eyeball?
Same. Right.
Somebody cut your eye out, then they can put it up there.
I could just take a picture of you. That'd be much easier.
Is that all it has to be done?
Possibly.
So why do they go through the hassle pulling the guy's eye out on the movies?
Because it's cool.
All right, that's
it's way fun. It's way more fun.
It depends, right? We've seen like face lock. I don't use it on my phone, but people unlocking that with pictures of people, right? Like
seriously. Now I use my fingerprint on my phone. I don't care who goes in there, but it's just kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I put my finger on your phone in 1,000 different ways, one of them would hit.
Really?
Probably.
Okay.
Just depends on how good your sensor was or how clean it was when
the word is clean, right? Yeah. Because phones are disgusting, I think, in my eyes.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about where we're at. We've kind of talked about where we came from.
Yeah.
What's on its way? What else do I have to be afraid of?
What's the coolest, what's the coolest technology you think that we're going to see here?
Coolest technology? I think, and I don't know, maybe this is me as a parent, being excited. I think the advances, hopefully, in education are going to be exponential. The thing I think we struggle with the most is adoption of technology in education, but not technological advances. So We already have like a generative AI. I think Khan Academy did an example where he had generative AI.
Are we good, guys?
Bummer.
Yeah, that camera just.
Where we had generative AI tutor his son on a topic, right?
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about chip implants.
Yeah.
Is education going to become, I know I'm like the science fiction
Sure.
guy, education going to become unnecessary by putting a chip in someone's brain, downloading the information they need to know,
It could be.
but doesn't give them the skills?
Well, it could.
It could give them the practical skills. Okay.
Why not?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm
I mean,
asking.
you're right. I mean, your brain controls all.
I guess if I could think it could
your
be done
neurological
eventually,
system.
right?
Your brain is what's controlling all of your movements.
Right.
I suppose there's no reason why, in theory, a brain chip couldn't
Help.
give you skills.
Wow. So education
Sure.
in that sense could be obsolete.
Yeah, the risk you run there is the same risk we run right now. What is real
Right.
and what isn't, right? What information is considered factual, right? If we just have a chip and we have full access to everything on the internet, we're going to be as dumb as we are now.
This
Yesterday.
is the most important question of the night.
Yeah.
Why the F cannot stormtroopers hit anything? They're all right. They don't ever shoot anything. They don't ever manage to actually kill anything. But they're all what? Aren't they all? What are they?
Are you saying robots?
Clones.
The clones.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. The
Yeah, they're
stormtroopers.
clones.
Stormtroopers are people.
Clones
Clones are
of humans.
okay. Well, is not the stormtrooper a clone of one original stormtrooper, and they're all the same after that? They all look alike.
You're saying
Yeah, sure.
stormtroopers or clones?
Stormtroopers are clones.
Stormtroopers. The one. No, the stormtroopers are people.
No.
Yeah, if you've watched any of the new
Stormtroopers
Star
are
Wars,
people.
they're all individual
The clones
people.
are not.
Clones are not. Yeah.
Well, I
Stormtroopers
think
are
even
individual
the clones
people.
are. They're just a clone of one person. I think they're still human.
Yeah, I mean, they have the robots in the series. Like if you've seen like the Clone Wars and stuff.
Clone
where it's like-
stormtroopers.
yeah.
Clone
Stormtroopers are not
stormtroopers,
inherently
stormtroopers with the
clones.
same.
Roger.
Yeah.
Roger. No, I'm talking about that. bro.
He's a clone.
No,
You're
that-
saying stormtrooper.
Yeah, the guys that
Not
can't,
robots.
No, those are people.
No, but they've taken DNA, created it off one human,
That
and
has
now
nothing to do with robots.
No, but it's drone, not drone.
No.
Clone.
Autonomous? Clone.
Clone. Now,
Yeah.
clone could be a human, like the sheep they
Yes.
cloned, right?
So could your fraternal twin.
I agree,
It's literally the exact same thing as having a fraternal twin.
but they don't think for themselves, do they?
Huh?
I don't think
Yes,
the
they do.
stormtroopers think for themselves.
Just like your twin brother would.
Did you ever see? Have you seen any of the new Star Wars movies?
Yeah.
So think about what's the guy's name? Finn.
Yes.
It's like Boba Fett's not a clone.
Hell no.
Or Django. We're getting real
Clone
nerdy
and being
now.
mind controlled are not the same thing.
All right, so are they being mind controlled? This is all important stuff. How the hell are they controlling the stormtroopers with a chip?
The chip. Probably.
But they have tons of them, so they're cloning the bodies, putting them in the white suits.
So, I mean,
He's laughing at me.
I am laughing. I don't know. Like, if that were my world and I had a bunch of clones and there were brain chips, they'd all be hive-minded, right? Like, they wouldn't... They'd all share the same mind all at once. So all of their experiences are...
They'd be looking left. They'd be looking right.
and they track all of it.
How come they? I just
simultaneously.
want to know why they can't teach him to shoot. It would be so much more interesting if they actually killed
If they
somebody,
could shoot. Yeah.
wouldn't it?
Yes.
I mean,
It would
we are
have been
talking
it would have
Disney.
been cool if we saw some just like random deaths of main characters from a stormtrooper
right.
blast. Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
Do we have 0 recorded deaths in the entire Star Wars universe from...
I think so. Right? Is it? Oh no, from clones. I think so. We're gonna look.
No, I don't trust you because you don't know the definition of a clone.
I know what a clone is. We're
is it-
cloning sheep, man. We're making another person out of another person's DNA.
Right.
And it's going to be same DNA match completely across the board.
Yes.
Okay, there. That's the
Yes.
clone. Okay. So we've got a bunch of clone stormtroopers that's,
Yeah.
I guess I was under the assumption, probably wrong, that they all thought alike. They were all programmed to do the same thing, but the son of a bitches still cannot shoot a damn
No, they
gun.
just all suck. Yeah. They're just really bad
You
at their
think they
job.
could fix
Yeah.
that with a...
Yeah. anything.
Anything.
Literally anything.
What's a target practice?
You'd think, but what happened was there was a technological revolution, and they did not get on board. Right? So
That's where I got.
They got
they
left
are
behind.
using.
So I am a stormtrooper.
You're
Now
you're gonna be missing sales for days.
Oh yeah, I can hear it all. I can hear it all.
Shots fired blank.
That's not a good thing to say. So I'm obviously a real estate agent.
Yes.
How's AI going to help me, and what applications would be positive?
As a real estate agent, AI lead generation. I think we talked about that a little bit before. I think Zillow's already using that to be like, hey, we got a lead for you. We got a lead for you. So that's an area where it could help.
Again, costs a lot of money.
Now we're not talking about the price. We're talking about the technology, right? That technology could help.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the price. You talk about the technology because the price is my ass.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right.
Virtual staging in AI.
Do you have confidence in that? Because right now,
I
what
have
we
high
have
confidence in
do
that.
you? Because what we have to do now is, if something's virtually staged, we have to show the stage picture and then the house without the staging.
I think that's okay, and that's a legislative problem more than anything else. Regulations. Assuming regulations never change, there's still something to be said about a consumer envisioning themselves in a property. Virtual staging is one example, but you add AR or VR to the mix. You put a headset on a buyer in a house, and they can drag and drop furniture of their liking in areas. They can change the wall colors. They can change the tiling. They can change the cabinets and countertops live.
Could I? Here's one for you that just I thought of. We can take a picture of our existing furniture, load it up into the program, and then be able to place our furniture into that house.
Yeah. So I mean, you can 3D scan furniture and use it as a 3D model in various applications.
You can have that one. Just name it after me.
Thank you. Amazon and IKEA took it first. So they both had applications where you could look at their furniture that they were selling in your space. Just by
but it's
they
not
scanned
with
it
the headset, man.
No, it's the same thing though. It's a 3D model.
Pokemon does the
or
same
on
thing.
your phone. Yeah,
Pokemon was the first one to do that, I think, where they had the Pokemon show.
They were the first one to release a mass consumer AR application of any kind. Niantic is the company who made that. And
I'm learning the real names of all these. I think I called it Nintendo. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Niantic. I think they made the Harry Potter variant of that too. I think they have some other slight applications. Maybe I've seen like AR scavenger hunt type things. I don't know if they were behind that, but yeah, there's a lot of AR applications for mobile devices. But there's a lot to be said about seeing something in a headset. I had a builder. I won't say the name of the builder, but they were high-end builders like basketball courts in the house.
Very cool.
Cars in the middle of the living room type houses. And they wanted an application where during design, they could have clients in a headset and make live edits on something that has yet to be built. Right. So there's applications in building too.
That's cool.
In construction, they're doing design reviews once you get to the plot of land and seeing where the plumbing is going to be laid out, or where the walls are, or where the electricity is going to be, what the HVAC is going to look like, and being able to do that in a layered way where you can disable things, see through theoretical walls, and change plans live there on the site or before you even get to the site. There's a company doing some pretty cool data visualization stuff. They're called Bad VR. But one of the data viz tools they have is like a network heat map. So they can see what areas of their house they have strong pings from their routers and what areas they don't. Same thing could apply in home inspections. You do 3D thermo scans of a house and you see where your heat leaks are during an inspection.
That's all there. All right.
I've seen that stuff with like drones too. People use it a lot for drones on just like properties.
So you had mentioned, so this is number 2, you had mentioned that you do training for like clean rooms and surgeons and stuff like that. How, besides educational, how is AI going to help affect the medical field? Do you know? I mean, I envision it that while in the operating room, okay, that if something is to arise, they can go, for lack of better words, hey Siri, how do I remove this gallbladder with 6 stones above past this section here?
Sure. Yeah, that's totally possible. Live aids, that's hilarious. live aids in surgery, but you already have fully autonomous surgery bots that can do certain surgeries on people without any human doing it. Yeah,
that's
that
scary.
exists.
It's probably happened to me and I didn't even know it.
That exists.
Probably.
I mean, my
Yeah.
even my LASIK, I sat under a machine, looked at a light for 4 seconds, moved to another machine. I don't think the doctor did
I thought they had to
anything.
touch your eye with that.
Maybe on one of the machines, but the other one that cut my cornea open and moved the flap.
You didn't
over.
even feel it?
No, I felt it.
Oh, you felt it.
Yeah.
I don't, oh, man. We just lost
No,
Matthew.
it wasn't that bad. The whole surgery was literally less than 2 minutes long.
Wow. And you could see well?
Perfect.
So it's funny because as we're talking, just so I can catch up
That's
with my.
a cash cow.
Yeah, oh, I bet it is.
They crank people out of those facilities, and it's like, I don't know, $3 to $10,000 depending on insurance
Wow.
per person. I was in the lobby for an hour and saw 10 people who were getting surgeries that day. And then when I came back the next morning for my next morning checkup, it was 10 other people.
If I know Dustin, he's over there doing the math on how much they made within the hour.
I did the math before I left the lobby.
Some of this stuff is just all just blah, 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 blah
Yeah.
to me, right? Just, okay, I don't know what the hell you just said, but I agree with it. So as we were working along, of course, the first thing I did is sometimes I'd Google what you were talking about. So I had a little bit of knowledge to give you a question. I'm not, let's have technology that's used it. All of a sudden, guess what has shown up in my Google search?
What?
An AI response to what I was looking for.
Yeah, so they have the AI-powered response as their top response in Google now. I think most Windows operating systems, it's just part of your start menu. Copilot is. So you just hit your start menu and type whatever you want, and Copilot will answer it for you.
So the world, I should be not the person to say this, but we don't have to worry about grammar anymore. Could we write something and put it in an AI program and ask them to correct the grammar and the spelling?
Oh, you can do that.
I did that all throughout college.
But you talk about writing, and we have people right now, like in 2024, in a tizzy about people not knowing cursive, but like people aren't going to need to write with their hands at all.
I'm learning this.
Right? Like why would they?
So,
Sure.
well,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
I didn't get to
Wouldn't
finish.
have to. I'm not. There are plenty of people who still do cursive and do calligraphy and.
So
and
I
all
didn't
that.
get to
can-
finish the
I can
question
read it.
about are you killing the arts?
Yeah.
I happen to know your wife. She's a writer.
Yeah.
Okay. She loves to write.
She does use it to aid in her writing process.
Does she? Okay.
As of yesterday, when I finally convinced her, because Claude AI is better than ChatGPT in that regard.
So I, in the past, have written a book. You may or may not know that about me.
Yeah.
Okay. I have sold thousands of copies of that book, and I still get checks today. Okay. So I always wanted to write a second book. Y'all thinking I'm BSing you on that. That's not true. I actually did write a book. Okay. But I always wanted to write a second book. So I'm scrolling the old Facebook, as I normally do in the middle of the night, and I come across this ad, and it says, books by anybody. Hey, reach out and answer these 10 questions, and we'll have a book to you in 2 weeks. So what did I do? I loaded up my picture. I answered my 5 to 10 questions. And here's the book, 234 pages.
And it's a 2024 national bestseller.
And it's obviously the 2024 national
It
bestseller.
told you itself.
I've got Housing Weekly here, the Property Insider, Reader's Digest, Lands and Homes magazines, all have given me a review. 100% bullshit, all written
Yes.
by AI.
Yep.
I am still going to take credit for it because I answered the questions. But that, my friend, is scary.
Yeah, it totally is. And that's one of those areas, like I said, where technology advances faster than the legislation can keep up with. We're still fighting what copyright laws look like with generative AI. If they comb through that book and they can find clips that are copywritten or trademarked or belong
could be a
to
problem.
another seller, especially if you try to resell it.
Right?
Big issue.
So
right now, like, I'm sure that website had plenty of disclaimers. So, this is not for resale. This is, a prop or, something to that effect.
We're going to put it
to cover their own butts.
We're going to put it up on eBay, and we're going to give the proceeds to charity.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
That's not going to stop, like I said, other other countries from making dupes, right?
So in my era,
And sell it.
making dupes was going into a movie theater with a movie camera and filming filming the movies.
Dupes, duplicates, fakes.
Yeah, and then selling them at the swap meet. Okay, which is illegal.
I still
Nobody
think people
stopped
still do that.
it. You think they do it?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I've kept Dustin away from his beautiful family long enough. I know we kind of just talked crazy talk, and I know we put stuff out everywhere, but there's actually was some pretty good information that came out of all this. We can always count on Dustin to just blow our minds with technology. Dustin, we appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me again.
Oh no, it's not like I said. Bring people in here that's smarter than you, Jackson and yourself, and then even Matthew, who helps us out quite a bit. This is your generation. This is your world right now, and embrace it. Just because an old guy like me is scared or a little nervous of a little technology that I want in 20 years when most of this stuff comes, it won't matter. I'll just be sitting there drooling, staring at TV. So if you had to leave me with one set of words about AI, what would it be?
I think like the biggest kind of thing that if you listen to this whole podcast all the way through is like, look at the positives of it all. Don't focus on the negatives and we'll be fine.
Learn how to use it.
Because education gives you confidence. And when you know what you're doing and you know how to use it, then you're not afraid of it. If you have any questions about today's show, feel free to reach out to us directly at smithandbollinger at longrealty.com. And always remember, we're here for you for all your real estate needs. Whether it's residential, commercial, investment, or land, we got you covered.